The manhua kicks off with a bang as Evangeline storms into the meeting room, catching her grandfather off guard. He demands to know why she's there, but she boldly flips the question, reminding him she's the CEO. He tries to send her home, claiming they'll sort it out later, insisting it's not appropriate for her to barge in like that. Frustration builds as he commands her to step down, announcing the board has chosen a replacement. Shocked, she questions the demotion, highlighting her role in the company's success. He drops a bombshell. Her DNA test results suggest she's not his granddaughter. Disbelieving, she argues it must be a mistake, but he's done the test twice. Crestfallen, she asks if her CEO position is in jeopardy because of a lack of blood relation. She laughs it off, attempting to dismiss the seriousness, but her grandfather remains resolute. He proposes she continue as a director, assisting her sister, but she scoffs and laughs even more. In a moment of defiance, she calls him by his name, asserting that without her, XY Corporation will crumble. Proudly, she walks out, leaving a brewing storm behind. The scene shifts, and there's Evangeline, holding the DNA results, wondering if that's the reason she's always been treated like a robot since childhood. She questions if her parents' lack of love and care stems from this revelation. Angered, she speeds through the streets, trying to reach her fiance Julian. In the car, she dials him, but he doesn't pick up. Frustrated, she zooms to his apartment. In the elevator, she mutters about needing to talk to him, as he's the only one who can understand her. She barges into his apartment, finding a pair of ladies' heels. Sneaking to his room, she opens the door only to discover Julian with another woman in a compromising situation. He yells at her, demanding she leaves, revealing he's aware of the news their engagement is over. He cruelly declares that she's not the legitimate daughter of the Youngs, just a shameless bumpkin. She musters confidence, asking if he's truly ending things. She promises him that he'll regret it, confidently vowing to make sure he dies with remorse. Leaving, she slams the door behind her, determined to face the storm with resilience. Eva walks into a bar, sinking into a seat with a heavy heart. As she sips her drink, she reflects on years of relentless work, striving to impress her parents, sacrificing sleep for a company that's still slipping through her fingers. Frustration boils as she realizes nobody cares about her efforts. Anger flares as she mutters that she's not even considered part of the Young family. Determined to make them regret their actions, she promises payback for the injustice. Slamming her hand on the table, a stranger beside her asks how she plans to make them pay. Startled, she turns to him as he questions if she has enough power and money. With a determined glare, she stands, pulling him by his shirt, stating she may lack it now, but vows to find a way, even if it means dealing with the devil. The stranger caresses her face, warning her to be cautious about what she wishes for, hinting that a certain devil at the bar might fulfill her desires, but claim her soul in return. Smirking, she invites him to introduce her, ready to make a deal, even if it means making a pact with the devil. The stranger compliments her bravery, assuring her that her wish is his command, and he'll gladly make the introduction. The next morning, Eva wakes up in a room so extravagant it feels like a dream. Confused, she tries to recall the events leading to this moment, and it hits her the stranger from the bar. Checking herself under the sheets, she's relieved to find she's fully clothed. Spotting her suit jacket on a chair, she wonders if the mysterious man brought her to his house. Grabbing her things, but skipping the shoes, she heads downstairs, eyes widening at the grandeur around her. She guesses it's an ancient chateau, probably from the 1800s. As she reaches for the door, a voice startles her, asking if she's escaping already. Turning, she sees the man in a black robe with a glass of wine. Astonished, she questions where she is. He casually informs her she's in hell, leaving her confused. Thinking he's joking, she questions him, but he chuckles, reminding her she wanted to meet the devil. Angry, she stares at him, convinced he's playing games. As he approaches, using a finger to press her forehead, calling her his pet, she grabs his hand, rejecting the label and apologizing for any trouble caused. Attempting to leave, she reaches for the door, but he slams it shut. Leaning in, he tells her that apologies and thanks won't cut it, especially after all she's done. Confused, she wonders what she could have possibly done. He hints at evidence, untying his robe to reveal a bite mark on his neck, leaving her stunned. Recalling the wild night before, Eva practically dragged him into his car, demanding a trip to meet the devil. Armed with her wallet, she questions him about what he wants. On the way, they spot a couple outside engaged in a passionate kiss, and the girl biting her partner. Eva shoots him a strange look, crawling towards him, claiming she has no money, but figures a kiss and a neck bite should do it. Without resistance, he allows her to go through with it, cautioning her about potential regret. Completing the unusual transaction, he takes off his shirt and hands it to a man nearby, leaving Eva somewhat bewildered. Placing her head on his bare chest, he tells her that if she's so keen on going to hell, he'll be the one to take her there. Back in the present, processing the bizarre events of the previous night, Eva, disappointed in herself, queries him about the amount of money he wants. As she glances around the room, it dawns on her that money isn't the issue. Determined to unravel the mystery, she urges him to reveal his identity. In response, he drops the bomb, claiming to be the devil himself. Staring at him in disbelief, she wonders if he's just trying to seduce her. Snapping out of it, she insists he takes her seriously and spills the truth, threatening to leave. He introduces himself as Gage Acheron. Eva, apologetic for her actions, blames the whole ordeal on the influence of alcohol. Attempting to make amends, she suggests money as compensation for the inconvenience. Gage dismisses the notion, asserting he's the victim, and he should decide. Puzzled, Eva asks what he wants. His request surprises her. He merely wants her to stay with him until the bite mark on his neck fades away. Standing there, Eva finds herself in a state of confusion, trying to make sense of the surreal situation. She's a bit puzzled, wondering how long it'll take for the bite mark to disappear, maybe a solid 10 days, or even 2 weeks. Is he just messing around? Her expression is dead serious as she thinks, convinced he'll burst into laughter once she falls for his prank. Gage Acheron remains calm, waiting for her response. Mouth agape, it finally dawns on her that this situation might be more serious than she thought. In her mind, she daydreams about him dismissing it, saying it can't be that bad and maybe he just wants something inappropriate from her. Grinning, he clarifies that if she's thinking he wants her to stick around for some bedroom service, she's got it all wrong. She questions him, asking if he's suggesting she just hangs around until the bite mark vanishes. He confirms it, saying he's in need of a companion since his maid bolted, and he's still on the hunt for a replacement. Given she's already there, and he doesn't expect any compensation, it's the most convenient arrangement he can think of on short notice. In her mind, frustration boils as she contemplates the idea of becoming his makeshift maid. He throws the question at her, warning against voicing dissatisfaction. Resisting the urge to retort that she'd rather share a bed than play servant, she reluctantly agrees with an irritated fine. His smirk doesn't help. Playfully, he pats her head, earning an indignant response about not being a child. The twist. Now she's not allowed to leave until his bite mark magically fades. He strides off, leaving her to ponder her predicament. Then, he calls her over. She protests, claiming she lacks proper clothing. Unfazed, he promises to get everything she needs during her stay. He summons someone to fetch women's clothes, leaving her to sigh. An attempt to delay is met with a reminder that the deal's sealed. Ordered to return to her room and shower, he assures her clothes will arrive shortly. Steaming with frustration, she storms off for a shower, hoping to wash away the day's bizarre twists. Emerging, she spots a stunning set of pajamas on her bed. Determined to persuade him to release her from this absurd arrangement, she approaches him, relieved that he's finally clothed. Yet, his impeccably perfect physique proves to be an unexpected distraction. Swearing to herself to be the one to speak first, her plan crumbles as he surprises her by dropping to his knees. A pair of adorable fluffy slippers magically appear at her feet, leaving her momentarily stunned. He instructs her to put them on, and she remains dumbfounded, trying to make sense of this surreal situation. Puzzled about why she's been roped into a maid gig, she contemplates his motives. He interrupts her thoughts, asking if something's amiss. Quick to dismiss any concerns, she replies with a nonchalant nothing, and shakes off the notion of overthinking. In her mind, she reasons that what just happened might not hold much significance for him. He rises and instructs her to follow. As they stroll, she's left wondering where he's leading her and strategizes on finding the right moment to plead her case for freedom. Strolling to the kitchen, she assumes it's chef duty time, secretly smirking at the thought that her less than impressive culinary skills might be her ticket out. Ready to roll up her sleeves, she's taken aback when Gage Acheron pulls out a chair, urging her to sit. Confused, she wonders why he's not ordering her to cook. Instead, he dives into the fridge, emerging with ingredients, chopping and washing with gusto. When she attempts to lend a hand, he insists she just watches. Perplexed, she's got a whirlwind of thoughts as he cooks. Something feels off, and suspicion brews in her mind. Once he unveils the well-prepared meal, he encourages her to eat, claiming it's the perfect remedy for her hangover. Skeptical, she nibbles her nails. Gage then notes her intense scrutiny, suggesting she eyed him like a detective solving a complex case. He playfully challenges her to spot anything unusual he might have sneaked into the dish. Feeling a bit exposed by his keen observation, she reluctantly digs into the meal. The first spoonful hits her taste buds like a revelation, and she can't help but be impressed by his culinary skills. When he asks about the taste, she manages to keep a straight face, acknowledging it's good. Yet, in her mind, she's practically dancing with joy over the unexpectedly delicious food. Glancing at him, she playfully suggests he might be a male witch in disguise, scheming to fatten her up before turning her into dinner. He bursts into laughter, and she shoots him a glance, feeling a tad embarrassed. He throws a playful question her way, asking what she would do if he indeed were a male witch. Internally cringing, she wonders why she let herself blurt out such a bizarre thought. It's a full-blown embarrassment fest, and she can't shake the feeling of making a fool of herself in front of him. Regaining composure, she attempts to switch to a serious tone, tossing out a request for help. If he's a male witch, could he please assist in locating her phone? It seems to have gone MIA, and her search efforts have proven futile. To her surprise, he pulls it out from his pocket, casually explaining that he swiped it from the bar's counter before they left. Apologizing for the oversight, he hands it back to her. Switching on her phone, she's greeted by a flood of missed calls and messages. The phone rings again, prompting her to step away to take the call. In the corner, she answers, asking what's wrong. The caller, in a frenzy, accuses her of finally picking up, questioning her whereabouts and whether she's seen the news causing chaos on social media. Bewildered, she wonders what announcement her secretary is referring to, admitting she just turned on her phone and hasn't checked the news. The secretary reveals it's about an announcement Evangeline supposedly made last night, declaring her resignation as the CEO. Utterly confused, Evangeline denies making any such announcement. She didn't step down. The secretary drops a bomb. Rumors are circulating that Evangeline resigned due to alleged fraud and misconduct. Panicking, the secretary explains reporters are hounding her for details, and she doesn't know how to handle the situation. Desperate, she asks for Evangeline's location to pick her up. Ending the call abruptly, Eva dives into checking her messages, only to be interrupted by another call that sends her phone skittering to the floor. Gage Acheron steps in, retrieves the phone, and inquires about the issue. Trying to keep a brave face, she insists it's nothing and asks him to help turn the phone off. However, a noticeable tremor in her hands betrays the turmoil within. Amidst the shaky atmosphere, Gage senses an unwelcome presence and excuses himself, promising to return. In her thoughts, Eva grapples with the overwhelming sense of someone actively trying to ruin her life. Determined not to be a victim, she vows not to forgive those responsible and plans to make them pay for every injustice. Realizing she needs to take action, she contemplates leaving the house to confront the situation head-on. Staying put might lead to an explosive outburst, and she's acutely aware that time is of the essence. The urgency propels her decision to face the storm brewing outside, setting the stage for a confrontation she is determined to navigate on her own terms. Eva is taken aback when she spots Gage in the company of someone familiar, Mr. Park, the notorious secretary of Mr. Carlson, the CEO of ASEAN Enterprise. Confused, she questions why he's there. Overhearing their conversation, she learns that Mr. Park is on a mission from his boss. He's there to ask Gage one last time if he has any interest in taking on the CEO position at ASEAN. Mr. Park explains that if Gage remains uninterested, the chairman has a list of candidates ready to step into the role. The revelation leaves Eva in shock, pondering who this enigmatic man is that is being considered for the position of CEO at her rival company. In the midst of the unexpected revelation, Gage responds to Mr. Park's proposition, pointing out the demanding nature of the CEO position. However, Mr. Park counters, revealing that he was a co-founder of the company, implying that he's more than capable of handling the role. Gage, though, remains uninterested, expressing concerns that he might lead the company to downfall due to his waning interest. Gage questions the need for working hard when he already possesses wealth beyond his needs. Unfazed, Mr. Park hints that perhaps Gage is bored and needs a new challenge. With a smirk, Gage retorts that taking the CEO position would be the fastest way to boredom for him. Mr. Park conveys his understanding, ready to inform his master about Gage's decision to step aside. Before Mr. Park can finish his sentence, Eva, unable to contain herself, interrupts with a resounding shout, urging him to wait. Mr. Park addresses Eva by her surname, questioning her presence. Gage chimes in, casually mentioning she's his guest. However, Mr. Park, ever the detective, suspects Gage might be hiding a woman, and to top it off, it turns out to be the CEO of ASEAN's rival. Unfazed, Eva intervenes, asking them to hold on for a moment and pulling Gage aside. In their private conversation, Eva gets straight to the point, questioning Gage's decision to reject the CEO offer. Gage, nonchalant, labels himself as pretty lazy and not interested in spending his bachelor life glued to a chair chasing unnecessary wealth. He's a wealthy heir with money working for him through investments, living a carefree life in retirement. Seizing the opportunity, Eva proposes a solution: he should hire her. Revealing her identity as the former CEO of XY Corporation, she pledges to revitalize ASEAN and crush XY Corporation in the process. Gage, connecting the dots, realizes she's the female CEO responsible for XY overtaking ASEAN. Undeterred, Eva urges him to accept the CEO position, assuring him she'll do all the heavy lifting. She acknowledges the reluctance of the chairman and board to accept her but insists that hiring her is the strategic move, especially considering Gage's role would be minimal, confined to occasional meetings while she handles the groundwork. Gage, intrigued, questions Eva's willingness to do all the work behind his shadow. Undeterred, she asserts she doesn't care, what matters is taking revenge and making them regret. Her determination to make them feel the pain of losing something precious fuels her resolve, and she's ready to repay them with added interest. Acknowledging her determination, Gage agrees to strike a deal. However, he emphasizes that if she's willing to get what she wants, she must be prepared to do anything in exchange. Eva nods, confirming her readiness for whatever it takes. Gage, probing further, questions her certainty, prompting her resolute affirmation. She addresses him by his surname, but he leans in, suggesting she simply call him Gage. Amused, Eva tells him to stop, but he notes her apparent relaxation and proceeds to hint that he'll be stating his price for the bargain. In a surprising turn of events, Gage drops the bombshell, proposing that Eva marries him. Shocked and flabbergasted, she questions if he's merely trolling her. However, he assures her it's no joke. Perplexed, she directly asks if he genuinely wants to marry her. Gage, cryptic in his response, mentions it's not the answer to the obvious question. Curiosity and confusion linger as Eva queries why he's chosen her, a stranger, to be his potential spouse. Gage, nonchalant, suggests that she might be underestimating her worth, questioning why she thinks she's not worthy of being with someone like him. Eva, quick to refute, insists that he's the fortunate one in this scenario. As the proposal hangs in the air, Eva urges a pause, highlighting the need for more time to consider and discuss conditions. She's certain there must be conditions he's contemplating, and she wants to know them before making a final decision. Gage, appreciating her cautious approach, notes he needs to inform Mr. Park of his decision. Eva, half-jokingly, encourages him to accept now, but Gage raises the concern of her changing her mind. To alleviate his fears, Eva proposes signing a formal contract, a suggestion Gage finds agreeable. Gage swiftly pulls out his phone, dialing someone to expedite the contract process. He instructs her to wait, assuring that he'll divert Mr. Park's attention while they prepare the agreement. Reminding her that once she signs, there's no turning back, he leans in, whispering a final chance for her to reconsider. As he engages with Mr. Park, she's left alone in the room, contemplating the unexpected proposal. The weight of the decision lingers in the air as she paces, thoughts swirling about the implications of a contract that could alter the course of her life. Gage returns, brandishing the contract, revealing he bought them an extra hour with Mr. Park. Seizing the opportunity to gauge her commitment, he queries if she's had a change of heart. Resolute, she replies in the negative. With a hint of nonchalance, he hands her the contract, explaining she has a month to decide on the marriage proposal. Despite her decision regarding the main bargain, Gage offers a concession. Even if she declines, he'll accept Mr. Park's offer within the month and give her what she desires. However, there's a catch, his own set of conditions, neatly outlined in the contract. As she begins to read, the first condition grabs her attention, Party A, which seems to be her, must present Party B, presumably Gage, with one kiss every night. Glancing at him, she probes further, seeking clarification on the one kiss every night condition. Gage confirms that he means exactly what it sounds like, just one kiss every night. Skeptical, she questions whether he means no more than a single kiss. He affirms with a nod, prompting her to take a deep breath before diving back into the contract. As she reads, she stumbles upon the consequences for disobedience. The first consequence dictates that if Party A disobeys, Party B takes charge of initiating the kiss, with no limitations on length or manner. The shock of this clause intensifies as she delves deeper into the contract, discovering conditions like Party A being Party B's bed warmer every night. Anger simmers within her as she glares at Gage, convinced he had something significant up his sleeve. Gage, anticipating her assumptions, urges her not to jump to conclusions. He clarifies that being a bed warmer means using her body literally to warm his bed. The revelation leaves her in disbelief, questioning the existence of someone with such demands. She continues reading, unveiling a cascade of conditions, including the consequence of bed warming leading to an intimate act initiated by Party B. Completing her reading of the contract, she can't help but ask if that's all. Gage, wearing a sly smile, teases her, inquiring if she desires more. She emphatically shouts a no, and he reassures her, explaining that if she meets the conditions, there won't be any need to worry about consequences. However, he stresses that the decision is entirely hers. Prompted for her choice, Gage gives her a 10-minute window to decide. In her thoughts, she wrestles with the realization that finding a better deal might be impossible, particularly with the rumors staining her reputation. Despite some reservations, a few chats with Gage seem to influence her decision. Resignedly, she flips open the page, and after contemplation, puts her signature on the contract. With the contract signed, Gage declares that everything is settled. However, his attempt to remove her glasses is met with a sad look from Eva. He quickly puts them back on her face and suggests they go out. Eva, asserting her desire to be called by her real name, insists that he stops using the term pet. Gage complies, playfully addressing her as Eva darling, prompting a blush from her. Curious about her feelings, he asks if she likes the endearing term, to which she sternly denies any approval. As Gage prepares to leave, Eva interjects, pointing out that she can't go out in her pajamas. She insists on going to her house to change and pick up personal items. Gage, offering an alternative, suggests buying everything she needs. However, Eva stands her ground, expressing the need to bid farewell to her home. Upon reaching Eva's house, she starts packing, prompting Gage to inquire about the sentimental value of her belongings. Eva affirms their importance. Gage lends a hand, helping her pack boxes. He even mentions that it's fine with him if she decides to move everything. As they pass reporters outside, Eva seizes Gage's hand, leading him to a corner to avoid the prying eyes of the media. Understanding the potential repercussions of being seen together, Eva urges Gage to stay out of sight. She expresses her concern for his reputation, especially considering the significant position he has just taken on. Resolute, she instructs him to go ahead while she handles the situation. In a strategic move, Eva vows to turn the tables on the reporters, playing with them in a slow and cunning manner similar to the way they played with her life. She pledges to make them believe she's gone, perhaps even making them think she's dead. The plan involves letting them lower their guard, relishing in their temporary happiness before revealing the reality of the situation. Gage, impressed by her resolve and cunning strategy, pays her a compliment as they navigate the intricacies of the game they've decided to play. Returning inside the house, Eva reveals her collection of clothing to Gage. Disappointment colors his expression, prompting him to question if that's all she has. With a nod, she confirms the limited options. Gage, seeking more variety, inquires about her dresses. As she shows him, confusion marks his expression. Eva, understanding his desire for a disguise, takes charge, and insists he leave it to her. She promptly pushes him out of the room and slams the door, leaving him to wait. Moments later, the door swings open, and Gage is left looking utterly speechless. Upon seeing Eva's transformed appearance, Gage is left exclaiming, "Oh my, what is she wearing?" Eva, confident in her disguise, asserts that no one will recognize her now. However, Gage expresses skepticism, predicting that the reporters will still be suspicious and might mob her. Eva, maintaining her belief in the disguise, underestimates the reporter's capabilities. Gage, cautioning her, advises against overlooking the reporter's keen instincts. He proposes a better solution to extricate her from the mess she's in. In a swift move, a lady named Eloise enters the scene. She's introduced as a skilled makeup artist. Greeting Eva, she turns to Gage, who reveals that Eloise will be the one to dress her up. Shortly after, Eloise emerges, declaring that she has completed the makeup, and all that remains is for Eva to put on the dress. Gage expresses gratitude and dismisses Eloise, seeming a bit impatient as he checks the time. Knocking on Eva's door, he urges her to speed up, and unable to contain his impatience, he starts opening the door. Upon entering, Gage is struck by Eva's transformed appearance and stands there stunned. Blushing, she attempts to retreat, but Gage, captivated by her beauty, stops her. He insists she doesn't need to change and leads her to a mirror, emphasizing that this is how she can hide in plain sight. To enhance the disguise, he carefully places a black glass on her face. Encouraging her to carry herself confidently, Gage advises Eva to hold her head high with her chest forward. As she walks, expressing nervousness about potential tripping due to her infrequent use of heels, Gage remains by her side, offering support. Assuring Eva not to worry about tripping, Gage walks beside her, providing a steady presence. Confidently navigating through the reporters, they draw attention and admiration. The onlookers, left in awe, speculate whether Eva is a model or an actress, intrigued by the mysterious allure she exudes. In the midst of their conversations, one observant reporter is struck by a moment of recognition. It dawns on him, as he recalls Eva's distinctive red hair. Quickly pulling up a picture on his phone, a realization sweeps through him, adding an unexpected twist to the unfolding scene. The reporter dismisses the suspicion, stating that he doesn't believe it could be Eva. Back at the elevator, Gage holds Eva by her waist, providing comfort as she leans on him. Inside the car, during the drive, Gage informs Eva that he has only 3 days before officially taking over. During this time, he suggests she perfect her disguise. Henceforth, she will adopt the persona of Evelyn Lee, Gage's smart, alluring, and sexy personal secretary and assistant. Eva responds with a subtle lip smack, agreeing to the plan. Gage hints at discussing more details once they reach their destination. As they pass the XY Corporation building, Gage playfully questions if Eva harbors any intentions of burning it down. To his surprise, she boldly affirms her desire to see it go up in flames. Gage teases her, remarking that she sounds like a villain. Unfazed, Eva justifies her stance, blaming her transformation on the actions of her ex-family members. Determined to meet their expectations, she vows to embrace the role they have unwittingly assigned her. Arriving at Gage's mansion, he casually informs Eva in the car that he'll be heading somewhere and won't return for 3 days. Curious, she questions the destination, prompting him to share that, being a healthy bachelor, he intends to enjoy his last 3 days of freedom before being engulfed in work. Eva, disapproving, asserts that he can't just go off like that. Gage, amused by her reaction, teases that she's already acting like his wife, playfully adding that it's unfortunate she hasn't accepted his proposal yet. He humorously suggests that if she were his wife, he would have listened to her now, as he's the type to heed his wife's orders. Frustrated by this light-hearted banter, Eva brings up the contract's condition that she has to kiss him every night, and questions how she's supposed to fulfill that obligation. Gage, displaying a charming smile, reassures her that this particular absence won't be counted toward the agreed contract. Eva, perhaps testing the waters, asks him a more personal question. If she were to become his girlfriend, would he still engage in extracurricular activities with other women? He counters her skepticism by affirming that he's not the type to pursue other relationships while committed. Gently touching her face, he reassures her, promising to return without any scandals. She expresses concern about contemporary men's tendencies to seek variety, emphasizing that they often aren't satisfied with just one woman. In response, Gage continues to reassure her, assuring that he's different. He playfully suggests that if she wants to ground him, there's a simple solution: marriage. However, he clarifies that he doesn't do girlfriend proposals. He's only interested in marriage proposals. With a teasing smile, he invites her to take her time, emphasizing that there's no rush. She has a month to contemplate the idea, ensuring she makes a thoughtful decision about their potential future together. As the night unfolds, Gage playfully reminds Eva of their agreement. With a subtle grin, he suggests that, since he's already there, she should fulfill her end of the bargain by giving him a kiss before he departs. The room carries a hint of anticipation as the agreement hovers between them, sparking the potential for a connection that goes beyond their initial arrangement. Air is charged with a mix of excitement and nerves. He senses her flustered state and, with a playful grin, teasingly asks if she's nervous. She retorts immediately that it's completely normal for a first-timer to feel a bit jittery. His brow furrows, curiosity piqued, as he wonders aloud if she's never been kissed before. She clarifies in a hurry, explaining that while she's experienced being kissed, taking the initiative to kiss someone herself is an entirely different realm she hasn't ventured into. His understanding gaze softens, and he leans back, patiently waiting for her to gather her courage. Encouragingly, he suggests she relax and even takes a gentle initiative by tucking a strand of her hair behind her ear. He reassures her that it's perfectly fine to go through a few trial runs, offering himself as the willing practice partner. The teasing in his voice brings a blush to her cheeks, and for a moment, she gets lost in the tempting allure of his suggestion. Asserting herself, she confidently declares that there's no need for practice. Turning towards him, she inches closer, almost reaching for his face. However, just as she's about to take the plunge, a sudden realization hits her, the part of the contract that prohibits her from touching him while in the act. She quickly adjusts course, grabbing his collar instead, planting her lips on his, a bold move that breaks the barrier between them. The air crackles with a mix of tension and desire, marking a significant step in their unfolding connection. "Done" escapes from her lips as the aftermath of the kiss. The atmosphere crackles with an array of emotions. He, with a mischievous twinkle in his eye, playfully teases her, suggesting that the kiss felt more like a punch. He points out the only distinction being that she utilized her lips instead of her fists. Confused but intrigued, she shoots him a questioning look, prompting him to respond with a hearty chuckle, leaving her to decipher the playful ambiguity hanging in the air. They arrive at the house, and he courteously opens the car door for her. With a playful grin, he confesses that the kiss they just shared was one for the books. She takes a moment to silently appreciate him, thinking to herself about how mysterious and incredibly domineering he appears. Seizing the opportunity, he reassures her that everything has been meticulously arranged, urging her to focus solely on the preparations ahead. She responds with a nod, but feeling the need to convey her understanding more explicitly, she revises her response to a more assertive, "I got it." As he prepares to leave for 3 days, he informs her of his imminent return. He steps into his car and drives off. Standing there, she watches his car fade into the distance, her fingers instinctively tracing the lingering sensation on her lips. Lost in thought, she's interrupted by the sound of her name being called. Turning, she finds the maids and Mr. Clark, the trusted butler who's been part of their household for a long time. Curiosity piqued, she directs her attention to Mr. Clark, inquiring about the maid who apparently ran away, the one Gage had mentioned. To her surprise, he seems puzzled, not catching on to the reference or understanding who she's talking about. 3 days pass, and she finds herself seated inside the house, engrossed in work on her laptop. The soft fabric of the pajamas Gage provided adds a touch of comfort, as she steals a glance at the time, eagerly anticipating his return. A sense of anticipation fills the room, expecting him to be back by now. Despite her expectations, there's a twinge of disappointment. He hasn't dropped a message or made a call since that day, leaving her feeling somewhat disconnected. Determined to focus on her work, she continues navigating through tasks on her system, trying to keep her mind occupied. Suddenly, the door swings open, and there he is looking as handsome as ever. In a matter of moments, he strides towards her, the air charged with an unspoken energy. Before she knows it, he's right in front of her. Swiftly, he undresses, and the scene transitions to a different setting. The lights fade as the story takes an unexpected turn. The next morning, she jolts awake, surprised to find him right there beside her on the bed. Panic sets in as she checks the time, realizing they are on the brink of being late for work. Swiftly jumping out of bed, she urges him to get ready, but he nonchalantly reassures her that, being the owner, they can afford to take their time. Unconvinced, she insists he get up and prepare for the day. He remains sprawled lazily on the bed, seemingly unfazed by the urgency. He's convinced that being a little late won't raise any eyebrows. Disagreeing, she reaches for his shirt, determined not to start their first day at work with tardiness. As she attempts to pull him up, he resists playfully, questioning what she'll do if he decides to linger in bed. Growing impatient, she didn't expect his laziness to stretch this far. He teases her, suggesting that perhaps a princely awakening, similar to the one in Sleeping Beauty, might do the trick. Shocked, she wonders what's gotten into him, and he grins, waiting for her next move. Without warning, she pulls him closer and plants a kiss on his lips. As she breaks away, she sternly tells him to get up immediately, or he'll regret it. Though not visibly thrilled, she manages to pull him up by the hand. He teases her again, claiming he just received another punch on the lips, maintaining his playful demeanor amid the morning chaos. In a rush, she pulls him along, not amused by his earlier antics. He casually mentions that he might attempt such behavior in the future just to see her reaction. Annoyed, she drags him away, urging him to quit fooling around and focus on getting ready for work. With a stern tone, she warns him that if they end up arriving late, she won't hesitate to hold him accountable for any consequences. They zoom towards work in the car, the speed mirroring the urgency of their morning. Seated inside, she turns to him, curiosity etched on her face, questioning why he ended up sleeping in her bed the previous night. The question hangs in the air, blending with the hum of the engine. With a sense of responsibility, she wonders aloud if his choice was influenced by a perception that she didn't fulfill her part of the obligation. Quick to clarify, she emphasizes that last night was an exception. Given his late return home, it simply wasn't feasible for her to carry out her part of the obligation. Asserting herself, she makes it clear that if she's unable to fulfill her responsibilities due to circumstances he caused, holding her accountable wouldn't be fair. Despite the explanation, a flicker of dissatisfaction remains on her face. The fact that he jumped into her bed without her consent doesn't sit well with her. In search of more clarity, she probes further, seeking answers to the questions swirling in her mind. The car becomes a space for both questions and unspoken tensions as they navigate the morning commute. He casually mentions that he's open to discussing it if she wants. Her curiosity doesn't waver, and she presses for his reasons, hoping they aren't driven by malicious intent. He affirms her suspicions, leaving her eager for an explanation. Playing along, he tosses the question back, asking for specific examples. Annoyed, she senses mockery in his response. Urging him to drop the businesslike demeanor, she insists on hearing the reasons. Reluctantly, he relents, revealing that his bed was cold, teasing her by deliberately stopping short. Curiosity peaks as she demands the whole story before they reach work. He drops the bombshell, "You didn't want me to leave." Stunned, she struggles to believe his words, thinking it's just another one of his playful teases. Unbeknownst to her, his face does not carry the playful gleam that surfaces whenever he teases her. Seeking confirmation, she asks again, and he nods gently. Refusing to accept the seemingly unbelievable tale, she questions further. He continues, describing how she looked adorable as she slept, comparing her to a cute kitten. The humor in his words eludes her as she grapples with the revelation. Before she can respond, they arrive at their destination, and he switches to a more formal tone, suggesting they go inside. Teasingly, he expresses his fondness for her determined expression. They walk side by side, drawing admiration from the staff. Whispers follow them, discussing the new CEO's handsome appearance and expressing awe at the secretary beside him. Even Evelyn receives compliments, described as blameless in her beauty, akin to a goddess. Encountering Mr. George Acheron, Gage's grandfather and chairman of the company, they engage in a playful exchange. Mr. Acheron teases his grandson about being up early and wonders what could be the motivation behind it. He introduces her as Evelyn Lee, his personal assistant, and shares a playful account of her punching his lips. Mr. Acheron is delighted to meet her and hints that they would be good for each other. Suggesting a cup of tea together later, she quickly agrees and promptly transitions into work mode. As the evening unfolds, he, sensing her work tension, surprises her with a drink. She accepts it with a cheerful demeanor, appreciating the thoughtful gesture. With glasses in hand, they raise a toast, marking his inauguration as the new CEO. A playful smile on his face, he also toasts to her new beginning as his secretary. The clink of glasses signals the start of a shared moment, and they proceed to sip their drinks. As they continue to enjoy their drinks, Gage drops a surprising revelation. He wants to take charge of investigating the allegations of fraudulent behavior and workplace misconduct leveled against her. Uncomfortable with this proposal, she tries to dissuade him, but he remains resilient, citing boredom and finding the case intriguing. Attempting to find a silver lining, she reasons that it might be a good thing. It keeps him occupied and ensures he won't interfere with her work. However, suspicion lingers, and she questions his motives. He reassures her that he plans to conduct the investigation personally. In response to her skepticism, he points out that as the CEO, he carries the company's name, and she's the central figure in this matter. She playfully argues that he's a CEO, not a detective, but he insists, assuring her that it won't cost her anything, and he's more than capable of handling it. Skepticism still gnaws at her, suspecting he might have a hidden agenda. She hesitates, not fully trusting him, but seeing an opportunity to keep him distracted, she reluctantly agrees. Establishing her terms, she warns him that he'll be held accountable if things go awry. With unwavering confidence, he assures her that messing up is not in his playbook. Under the veil of night, she stealthily sneaks into his room, ready to fulfill her part of the obligation. Relieved to find him absent, she swiftly moves to execute her task. Lying still on the bed, she contemplates rolling around for a minute or two, questioning the seemingly absurd nature of her actions. However, her solo escapade takes an unexpected turn when his voice pierces the silence. Startled, she rises abruptly, wondering how long he has been silently observing her antics. He admires her from a distance and leisurely walks towards her. Alert and still intent on completing her task, she attempts to push him away. She informs him that she's in the midst of her duty. Contrary to her expectations, he nonchalantly suggests that he can stay on the bed while she continues. A playful dispute unfolds as she insists on finishing first, but he playfully refuses, throwing a challenge by asking if she's afraid of him. Responding with a resolute no, he decides to lie down, claiming fatigue despite a seemingly easy day of sitting and playing with his tablet. This declaration leaves her baffled, and she questions how he could be tired from such minimal activity. Outraged by the perceived injustice, she resolves to sleep at the far end of the bed without budging. Undeterred, he urges her to come closer, seemingly oblivious to the contractual clause she brings up. With reluctance, she complies, wary of his intentions, convinced he might be attempting to break the rules and make her fall for him. As they lie side by side, he notices her contemplative expression and reassures her to relax. Despite his assurance, she remains nervous, fearing he might discern her internal conflict. Her relationship with Julian, her former fiance, has followed a path distinct from typical romantic narratives. They've never ventured into the territory of sleepovers or anything beyond kisses and hugs. It's a unique dynamic that has raised questions in her mind. Bringing up the topic, she wonders about the absence of more intimate moments. Julian, in response, reassures her, emphasizing that there's no need to rush. With both of them leading busy lives, he promises that once they are married, they'll have ample time to explore such facets of their relationship. The phone rings, jolting her back to present. She gets up to leave. However, he intervenes, gently stopping her and reminding her about something she's forgetting. The realization hits, and she quickly apologizes. Leaning over, she aims to seal her apology with a kiss, but he catches her shoulder, attempting to bring her closer. In a swift response, she reminds him that touching is off-limits according to the established obligation. Undeterred, he playfully insists that since the designated time for the task has passed midnight, he should be the one doing the kissing. A realization hits her like a ton of bricks. She's breached the contract. Frustration creeps in, but she quickly calms herself, reminding that it's just a kiss, nothing new or earth-shattering. Stealing a moment to brace herself, she tells him to hurry up so she can get back to bed. In response, he reassures her, playing down the significance of the moment. He tells her to relax, that he's not going to eat her up. Ready for the challenge, she encourages him to get it done immediately. However, a twist emerges. He declares his intention to teach her how to kiss. Shocked, she fires back, asserting that she's not a novice, no need for lessons. Unperturbed, he argues that previous experience doesn't make one an expert. Taking charge, he grabs her cheek, pulling her closer, instructing her to pay attention to his lesson. As he plants his lips on hers, she resists, refusing to open up. He halts and advises her to loosen up. Anxious to escape, she asks if he's done, but he retorts that he hasn't even started, holding her captive in the impromptu kissing tutorial. Her mind races through the potential consequences of her breach, feeling like prey in a lion's den. He reveals his unique definition of a kiss deeper than her quick peck. With no escape, she reluctantly agrees to let him have his way. Instructing her to open her mouth, he dives into a passionate kiss, exploring depths she hadn't anticipated. As they engage in the intense exchange for about a minute, she experiences a whirlwind of emotions. As the day breaks, she gears up for work and inquires about his whereabouts, only to be informed that he's still asleep. Determined to break the pattern, she decides to rouse him herself. Upon entering his room, she pulls back the curtains and instructs him to get up, emphasizing that they can't afford the rush of the previous day. Asserting that he's grown up and should act like it, she leaves him with a directive to get ready for work. He, seemingly unperturbed, greets her casually from the comfort of his bed. He inquires about her sleep, followed by a question about whether his behavior the previous night scared her. Swiftly dismissing the notion, she labels the previous night's kiss as insignificant, downplaying its seriousness. As night falls and she heads to his room for her daily ritual, a subtle excitement courses through her. Admitting to the difficulty of ignoring him, especially in his own domain, she acknowledges an undeniable allure he possesses. However, lessons from her past, particularly with Julian, echo in her mind, cautioning her not to blindly trust niceness. Determined not to let herself fall for him, she recognizes the potential distraction from her vengeance mission. Yet, the lingering impact of the previous night's kiss unsettles her. It makes her acutely aware of vulnerability and the possibility of being at his mercy with a single wrong move. Resolute not to let it happen again, she guards against the pool of emotions. Suddenly, his voice interrupts her contemplation. Attempting to reassure her, he expresses a desire not to make her uncomfortable. Skeptical, she retorts that there's no way she can relax while sleeping on a man's bed. He, intriguingly, reveals that having someone warm his bed helps him sleep better. This revelation surprises her, challenging her preconceived notions about executives and insomnia. As she engages in conversation, he dozes off unexpectedly, catching her off guard. Surmising that he must be tired, she shifts her focus to admiring his handsome face. A week later, the duo embarks on a business trip, and naturally, a disagreement brews over the accommodation. He suggests sharing a room, confident in the idea, but she quickly objects, citing their unmarried status as a reason to keep separate quarters. He concedes, strolling away with a casual "don't blame me later." As he walks off, a realization strikes her like lightning: her nightly tasks. In a rush, she catches up with him and suggests they share a room after all. Attempting to secure a suite with 2 beds, she finds disappointment in their unavailability. Before she can suggest switching hotels, he asserts that the current one is the best, shutting down any thoughts of relocation. Left with no other option, she resigns herself to the shared accommodation. As bedtime approaches, she contemplates sleeping on the couch, but he dismisses the idea, stating he won't be a gentleman and leave the bed for her either. They'll have to share the bed side by side. Anxiety creeps in, but he reassures her, emphasizing that he won't touch her without consent. Reflecting inwardly, she acknowledges that he isn't the type to make unwarranted advances. Her fear, however, is directed at herself, the ability to maintain control. Wary of distraction in a romantic entanglement, she's determined not to let her mission suffer. Expressing her understanding of his character, she finally succumbs to sleep. The scene transitions to the next morning, and they are still sprawled comfortably on the bed. Her head finds a cozy spot on his chest, and they linger in that moment for a while. Breaking the tranquility, he leans in and plants a loving peck on her forehead, a tender gesture that adds a sweet touch to the morning. As night falls, they gear up for a party invitation he received. Arriving at the venue, about to step out of the car, a twist of fate unfolds. Her eyes catch a glimpse of her ex-fiancé, Julian. Deciding to play it safe, he suggests they stay in the car for a while. She protests, but he stands firm, promising to steal the show. After a brief wait, they finally step out hand in hand, making a grand entrance that captures the admiration of onlookers. Mr. DeMarco, visibly pleased that he made it to the party, witnesses their entrance with a smile. However, the turning point comes when they come face to face with Julian, setting the stage for an encounter loaded with history and unspoken tension. The party, once a celebration, now holds an added layer of intrigue and potential drama. Gage and Eva sit down together. Eva seems deep in thought, and Gage notices. He asks her what's on her mind. Eva replies that she's worried about what she'll do if Julian comes over to them, convinced that he recognized her. Gage asks if she's certain about that. Eva explains that Julian stared at her for more than a moment, making her sure he knows who she is. She asks Gage if he's sure Julian won't approach them. Gage reassures her, saying Julian wouldn't dare cause a scene here, even if he recognizes her. Eva agrees, and Gage adds that Julian might be foolish enough to try, but he is here for her, so she should relax. As the night wears on, the music starts up, filling the room with lively beats. Soon enough, the dance floor becomes a bustling scene with couples and groups moving to the rhythm. Gage spots Eva sitting nearby and offers her a hand. She smiles and takes it, eager to join in the fun. They glide onto the dance floor, blending in with the crowd of dancers. As they sway to the music, Gage leans in close to Eva, and quietly mentions that her ex seems to be casting frequent glances their way. Eva glances around and sees Jessa, her sister, watching them intently. This sight immediately stirs up a mix of emotions in Eva. She feels a surge of anger, wondering why Jessa would look at another man with such intensity while she's already involved with someone else. Turning back to Gage, Eva voices her frustration, noting that Jessa's gaze seems fixated on him as well. She half-jokingly tells Gage that she can almost hear Jessa's thoughts already. Gage, intrigued, asks Eva what she thinks Jessa might be thinking about her. Eva hesitates for a moment before confessing that she suspects Jessa might be plotting to flirt with Gage later in the evening. Gage chuckles at the idea, but then poses a hypothetical question to Eva. What would she do if Jessa actually does make a move on him? Eva pauses to think, her expression thoughtful. She playfully nudges Gage and responds that she trusts him to handle it tactfully, reminding him that he's there with her, after all. He nods reassuringly, agreeing that he's there for her, and they should just enjoy the night together without worrying about Jessa's intentions. In that moment, his question hits her like a lightning bolt, sparking a flurry of unsettling thoughts in her mind. What if she doesn't step in? Will Gage respond if Jessa makes a move on him? Could he fall under Jessa's spell like Julian did? Would he actually welcome Jessa's advances? These doubts gnaw at her, unsettling her usual calm demeanor. She despises feeling this vulnerable, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Her confidence takes a nosedive in situations like these, leaving her second-guessing herself. She wonders if her apprehension is manifesting physically, a knot tightening in her stomach. The thought of Jessa potentially stealing Gage away fills her with dread. What if he decides to cancel their contract, evict her from his home, and even dismiss her from her position as his secretary? If that were to happen, her meticulously planned path to vengeance would crumble before her eyes. And then what would become of Gage? Would he Her spiraling thoughts are abruptly interrupted as Gage gently pulls her back from the brink. Concern etches his features as he asks what's troubling her so deeply. Meeting his gaze, she can't help but express her fears. She tells him that if he allows himself to be swayed by Jess's charms and dares to dissolve their agreement, she'd metaphorically bury him alive. A flicker of amusement dances in Gage's eyes as he leans closer, his voice soft and teasing. He reassures her in a way only he can, suggesting he wouldn't mind being buried deep within her embrace. His words, though playful, carry a hint of sincerity, a silent promise that they'll face whatever challenges come their way together. She looks at him, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She can't believe what he just said. He pulls her closer and urges her to stop worrying about her sister and focus only on him. Eva hesitates, asking how she can ignore Jessa when she's so charming and beautiful, just like him. He gazes at Eva, then glances over at Jessa. He seems a bit hurt, telling Eva he can't believe she's comparing him to Jessa. He insists Jessa can't possibly be as charming as he is, or as beautiful as Eva, for that matter. He asks if Eva really thinks Jessa and him are alike. Gage studies Eva's expression. She looks skeptical, as if she doesn't quite believe him. He wishes she could see herself the way he sees her, absolutely beautiful. The dance goes on, everyone enjoying themselves. Gage and Eva start to move to another part of the hall when Julian and Jessa block their way. Julian suggests they swap partners, asking Eva if she'll dance with him instead. Gage stays quiet, watching the scene unfold. Eva locks eyes with Jessa, who then asks Gage for a dance. Before Jessa can reach him, Eva steps forward and firmly tells her that Gage is not available. Jessa seems puzzled, wondering if Gage is reserving himself for his secretary. Eva surprises everyone by explaining that Gage's actual partner couldn't make it, so she's looking out for him to keep gold diggers away. Jessa retorts, mentioning she's observed them together all evening, insinuating that Gage's real partner would be disappointed to see Eva's behavior. Eva responds that it was just their little joke, but since Jessa wants to know everything. Eva explains that everything Jessa witnessed tonight was just a show, a message to smart women not to bother with Gage. She implies that Jessa doesn't fit into that category of sensible, classy women. Jessa grows increasingly angry, refusing to believe the words of a mere secretary. She turns to Gage, demanding that he say something. Then it struck Eva, she feels she had been too carried away. There's no way Gage will support all her lies, right? Of course, why should he? When she's the only one making up things without even consulting him. Somehow, she can already see where this is going. She can't remember the last time someone was on her side when Jessa and she were in situations like this. When she was truthful, no one stood by her. How can she expect anyone to side her over Jessa now? When she's the one lying. Finally Gage speaks. He tells Jessa that Eva is right, that he's already taken. Eva couldn't believe her ears. Later on, Eva is having a drink alone. Gage and Jessa are together. Eva is uncomfortable about it. She tells herself to stop being that way when they are together. She assures herself that Gage is not like Julian, he wouldn't fall on anyone's trap easily. As she drinks on, Julian approaches her and asks to join her, saying that their partners are busy right now, so he thinks they should wait for them together. Eva looks on, she tries to stay calm. Julian looks at her and tells her that he can't help feeling like he has met her before. Eva replies that he's not the first person to say that. He replies that it might be a cliché, but he's totally being serious, that she seems totally familiar to him. She replies, not looking him, that they might probably have crossed paths at other business events. He tells her that it might be, but when he looks at her, he thinks of his college sweetheart somehow. Eva is surprised, she feels he did recognizes her, she wonders if he was pretending before. She tells herself to calm down, to keep her composure and never admit anything. Her phone rings and excuses herself to take the call. As she picks it up the caller hang up, the caller texts her, saying that it's a wrong number. She looks at it, She wonders why she feels that there's something fishy about it. She decides not to overthink, and just be thankful that the call came to disrupt her conversation. As she leaves the bathroom, she decides to calm down, watch her words and not give any proof that she's indeed Eva. She feels that even if he suspects, he won't be able to prove it, as long as she keeps her cool. As she walks, she sees Julian standing at the hallway. He smiles when he sees her. She walks past him and he follows slowly. She turns and tells him that other ladies might not mind, but she finds such stalker behavior a major turn-off. He tells her that he went to the bathroom too, that he saw her enter the ladies, so he decided to wait so that they can go back to the ballroom together. Eva looks ahead and sees Gage and Jessa together. A while ago, while Gage and the other CEOs are in a business meeting, he stands up and leaves, excusing himself. As he leaves, Jessa stands up and follow. She asks him if he's going to the bathroom. He ignores her, and he continues to walk away. They get to the walkway where Eva is seen standing with Julian and she walks past him, blocking his way. She tries to come closer, but Gage shoves her away from him. He strides towards Eva and tells her that he has been looking for her. That something urgent came up so they have to leave the party urgently. He tells her that they should be on their way. Jessa and Eva exchange glances. In the car, they are sitting in the back seat, silent. Gage notices her demeanor and asks her what the problem is. She replies that it's nothing, that she thinks the wine got into her. She asks him what the urgent matter is. He tells her to come closer to him. She hesitates and he tells her again. She wonders why he's suddenly ordering her like that with that kind of gaze. He smiles and says that she's stubborn. He asks her if she's jealous. She asks him why she would be jealous, wondering what's wrong with him. She wonders why he likes teasing her, and why he looks so happy about it. She asks him if he believes now. He asks her what she's talking about, and she replies that Jessa is a very charming and irresistibly beautiful woman. He looks at her and tells her that she's far more beautiful and charming, that she can't even be compared to her. She replies that she only looks beautiful of the makeup and all the pretty dresses. She tells him that he doesn't know how pretty Jessa is without her awful makeup tonight, that she's really born beautiful, and if she's not dressed like tonight, she actually looks like a supermodel. At that moment, the car swerves and this throws her off balance as it carries her to Gage's arms. He holds her to himself as the driver tries to control the car again. She wonders what just happened. It was just as if the car had braked and shoved her into his arms because she has disobeyed him. The driver turns and apologizes, saying that there's a rock that fell on the floor. He nods. Eva wonders what type of excuse is that. She's held tightly by Gage, and he asks her what the problem is as he feels that she's uncomfortable. She tells him to stop calling her darling. As she says this, her voice comes out shaky. She feels being in Gage's arms is even more potent and heady than drinking a few glasses of wine. She needs to get out of his arms quickly. He tells her that she shouldn't be fooled by what she saw, that it wasn't an accident, but a calculated move by Jessa. He tells her that she followed him after he went to search for her. Then she cut him off and turned so fast that they bumped into each other. He asks her if she understands now. She looked at him. She feels he didn't need to explain that. She never expected him to explain. And she should have known that Jessa would pull off something like that. That she loves scheming to get what she wants. She tells him that he doesn't need to explain, asking why she'll get jealous, that he's not hers anyway. She tells him that she just can't stand her scent, that Jessa's perfume on him makes her head ache. He tells her that it has the same effect on him too, that he couldn't wait to get to the hotel to take it off quickly, but now he knows she hates it too. Gage tells her to take off his coat now, and help get rid of Jessa's scent. She looks at him. She doesn't know what had gotten into her tonight. Is it because she's tipsy? Or is it because of Jessa's surprisingly strong scent that is now filling the entire car? She doesn't know, but she wants that scent off him so badly that she could throw his coat out of the window. She removes the coat and throws it down. He asks her if she still smells the scent on him. She nods and he tells her to take his shirt off too, asking her if she's going to let Jessa's scent clinging to him like that. Eva gazes at him, feeling overwhelmed. His voice seems to stir something deep inside her, almost like temptation itself. Her heart races as she starts unbuttoning his shirt, unable to resist. His eyes meet hers, sparking a primal desire that she can't ignore. She wonders what he's doing to her, unable to tear her eyes away or bring herself to stop. She licks her lips nervously, and he notices. He tells her how much he wants to feel her lips on his own. She wanted him to, she wanted to be kissed like that night again. They begin to kiss. She feels she's doomed right now, his lips, his tongue, this kiss. She feels like she's getting addicted, she feels she wants more. Gage tells her that it's enough, except she wants him to go further right there. He tells her that she looks so ravishing and hot, that it's getting dangerous. The feel of him against her is enough, have her face burning red, and her entire body set aflame. She could not believe how her body is reacting right now, all these feelings, all these thoughts and sensations. Gage tells her that she should get off him at the count of 3, but she didn't. For the first time in her life, she felt an indescribably intense desire, an undeniable urge to experience this kind of pleasure. She decides to go further. Maybe the wine had erased every trace of shyness, but at this moment, she could hardly take about anything else. All that is running through her mind is that she wanted more of these sensations. They keep going for a while, lost in the moment. After some time, they arrive at the hotel, and the driver steps out to open the door. He quickly wraps his jacket around her, covering her up, and then tells the driver to close the door and give them a few minutes. Once they are inside the hotel room, she heads to the bathroom for a shower. As the warm water hits her skin, she can't stop thinking about what just happened. She's confused, wondering why she let it happen. She starts to question how she's going to act around him now. It was supposed to be just a professional relationship, nothing more. Now, she's not sure what to do or how to feel. While she's still lost in thought, a knock comes on the bathroom door. It's Gage. He tells her she needs to hurry up, because something urgent has come up and they need to leave right away. She quickly finishes up her shower, dries off, and puts in her contact lenses. She gets dressed and steps out to find him already dressed and waiting. He reaches for her hand and tells her it's time to go, and that he'll send someone to collect their things later. She looks at him, concerned, and asks what's going on. He tells her his grandfather isn't doing well, that he got some bad news about his health. She's surprised, saying his grandfather looked perfectly healthy the last time they saw him. Gage tries to reassure her, telling her everything will be fine, but they need to get back as soon as possible. They go to see his grandfather, and after spending some time with him, they both feel a lot better. The old man is getting stronger, and it seems like things are turning around for the better. As they step out of the house, she turns to him with a smile, and says how happy she is that his grandfather is all right. He nods and replies in a calm voice, reminding her that he told her the old man would be fine from the start. But something still feels off to her, so she can't help but ask if there's more going on. She heard that his grandfather was in really bad shape the night before, so how could he be fine now? He stops walking for a moment and sighs, then looks at her seriously. "You're right," he says. "There's more to it." He explains that he's been suspicious about what happened. He tells her that he wants her to stay with his grandfather for a little while because he's having the nurses investigated. He thinks there's a possibility that someone might have messed up his grandfather's medication on purpose, which could have caused the collapse. The whole situation is more complicated than it seems. Her eyes widen, completely taken by surprise. She had no idea things were this serious. "You think someone tried to hurt him?" she asks, almost in disbelief. He nods, but then quickly reassures her that his grandfather is safe now. He's already taken steps to fix the situation. Still, he wants her to stay with the old man until everything is sorted out, just to be sure nothing else happens. He tells her it would be easy for her because his grandfather likes her and enjoys her company. Plus, she won't have to worry about the doctor or the nurses, since he's already replaced them with people he trusts. He personally picked the new staff, and they would never do anything to harm his grandfather. She listens carefully, then raises an eyebrow and gives him a playful salute. All right, leave him to me. I'll keep an eye on him, she says with a smirk. Her sarcastic tone lightens the mood a little, and he smiles back at her, clearly relieved that she's willing to help. Then she asks, "Are you going to deal with the investigation yourself?" He nods, telling her that he has to make sure everything is handled properly. He wants to get to the bottom of what happened and make sure it never happens again. She can see how much he cares about his grandfather, and how serious he is about finding out the truth. Though the situation is tense, she feels confident that he's doing everything he can to protect his family. He shakes his head, explaining that someone capable is already handling the investigation. When she asks where he's going, he tells her he's off to finish their business. If he doesn't, others might think they've backed out, and the young family would take everything meant for Acheron. What surprises her most is the way he mentions her hard work, something she never thought he noticed or cared about. She suggests it's fine if he wants to stay with his grandfather, especially since he's the only family he has. Losing the project wouldn't be the end of the world, and there are always bigger opportunities. He steps closer, his expression unwavering. He's made up his mind to go. His grandfather's doing better, and he doesn't want all her effort to be in vain. He points out how much time she's put into the project, working late and giving it her all. She remains silent, but he presses on, making it clear he won't stand by and let the Youngs take what should be theirs. His resolve is clear, and she's taken aback by his seriousness. It's no longer just about the company, it's about her too. She stares at him, taken aback by the genuine care in his eyes. Sometimes she really can't figure him out. From the beginning, she thought he had a hidden agenda, something he wasn't saying. But now, this.it's different. The way he's going out of his way to support her, to protect her interests, it overwhelms her. She's never had anyone stand by her like this before. She's used to fighting her battles alone, always having to prove herself. This kind of support, this willingness to do so much for her, feels new and unfamiliar. Her thoughts start spinning, but he stops them with a simple gesture. He reaches up, brushing a few strands of her hair back behind her ear. He looks at her softly and tells her not to worry, that she's done her part. All she has to do is stay here, and leave the rest to him. His words are calm, reassuring, like he has everything under control. Then, without warning, he pulls her into a hug. The warmth of his embrace catches her off guard, but before she can even process it, he quietly asks her to give him a kiss before he leaves. She freezes, standing still, her mind racing. She can't quite explain what she's feeling right now. There's a strange pull inside her, a sudden urge to do exactly what he's asking. It's as if in this moment, all she wants is to grant his request, no matter what it is. Her heart beats faster, and she can't shake this feeling growing within her. But then he pinches her jaw playfully, snapping her out of her thoughts. He teases her about the serious expression on her face, making her smile a little despite the tension in the air. He chuckles softly and tells her he's changed his mind. He'll collect the kiss when he comes back instead, saying he can't afford to be late right now. With that, he pulls away, leaving her standing there, still lost in the moment. He checks the time again and corrects himself, realizing he's already running late. That only makes her more curious. How on earth is he planning to get to the project bidding on time? It doesn't seem possible, and the question slips out before she can stop herself. His response is calm, as if he has everything under control, and that little smile of his just adds to the mystery. He's always so confident, so sure of himself, and she doesn't doubt for a second that he'll somehow make it work. As he turns to leave, she feels a sudden urge to stop him, and before she can think it through, she calls out. He pauses, turning back, and there's something about the way he looks at her that makes her feel even more flustered. She wants to tell him to be careful. It seems like the responsible thing to say, but there's more bubbling underneath the surface. The words tumble out, and she barely has time to register them before she realizes she's said too much. Her concern about Jessa sounds more personal than professional, and she's suddenly embarrassed. Her mind races, trying to make sense of what just happened. Was it jealousy? No, she tells herself, it's not about that. She's just trying to protect him, to keep him from falling into any traps. But deep down, the realization hits her hard, this feels too close, too intimate. She's not used to feeling like this, not used to caring about what someone else does with someone else. The whole thing makes her uneasy. He walks back toward her, slower this time, almost as if he's savoring the moment. There's a playful glint in his eye, and when he speaks again, his words are so unexpected, they make her heart race. He's teasing her now, pushing her buttons in a way that leaves her speechless. Her mind goes blank for a second as his suggestion sinks in. The intensity of the moment is overwhelming. She's not sure how to react, her thoughts spinning between disbelief and something else she can't quite name. His presence is magnetic, and his teasing leaves her off balance, making her wonder how she's supposed to navigate this strange, shifting dynamic between them. She stands there, frozen for a moment, trying to steady her thoughts, but the tension lingers, and she knows that something has shifted between them. The casual professionalism they once had feels distant now, replaced by something far more complicated. She's caught off guard by his suggestion, her mind reeling from the fact that he just called himself her territory. Did he really just say that? She can't believe it, and she stands there, staring at him, unsure of what to do next. He keeps pointing to the spot on his neck, urging her to go ahead and mark him, like she did before. His tone is teasing, but there's something serious behind his words, something that makes her heart race. But when she doesn't move, still processing it all, he quickly reassures her, telling her that it's fine if she doesn't want to. He pinches her cheek gently, his touch soft, as if trying to ease her tension. He tells her it was just a suggestion, and she shouldn't feel pressured. He promises that he'll avoid letting Jessa's scent linger on him. With that, he bids her goodbye and turns to leave. But before he can take another step, something stirs inside her, and she rushes forward, grabbing his hand. Without thinking too much, she leans in and presses her lips to his neck. The kiss is quick at first, just enough to leave a mark, but as she pulls away, she feels like it's not enough. He notices her hesitation, smiling and telling her that if she's not satisfied, she can always do it again. His voice is low, almost daring her, adding that the more, the merrier. Something snaps inside her, and she leans in again, this time more determined, her kisses more intense. She's not holding back now, wanting to make sure the mark is bold, clear, and undeniable. He feels it. The heat of her lips, the press of her mouth against his skin, it's unexpected. He hadn't thought she would actually go this far, not like this. Not that he's complaining, but with each kiss, with every second that passes, it's becoming harder for him to stick to his plan. His resolve is slipping. His mind begins to wander, imagining how easy it would be to scoop her up, carry her back into the room, and forget all about the bidding and Jessa and everything else. He struggles to keep control, but when she gives him a small, playful bite on his neck, it's almost too much. His breath catches, and he finally tells her to stop, gently pushing her away. She pulls back, a satisfied look on her face, teasing him that he was the one who said the more, the merrier. Her words are light, but there's a mischievous glint in her eyes as she reminds him that with someone like Jessa, a little extra effort would definitely be more effective. He laughs, shaking his head, knowing she's right, but still trying to keep himself together. This moment between them has taken a turn he didn't see coming, and it's left him both amused and a little breathless. He chuckles, telling her that for a moment, he thought she was trying to stop him from going to the bidding. He shakes his head, saying it's not fair for her to boldly attack him like that in such a public place and at such a bad time. He adds that her actions definitely deserve some sort of punishment. She smirks, reminding him that he's the one who asked her to do it in the first place. He raises an eyebrow and asks when she learned to be so bold. If he didn't know better, he'd think she was an expert at seduction. She looks at him, her eyes wide with surprise, and asks if he really means that. He nods, saying he's looking forward to her next move, but suggests that next time they should be in a private place. He warns her that what she just did is a bit risky, and as he glances at his watch, he suddenly remembers he has somewhere to be and that he's already late. He gives her a quick farewell and heads out the door, leaving her feeling a mix of excitement and confusion. Later that night, she finds herself in the grandfather's room, keeping an eye on him while also working on her tablet. The room is quiet, and she's focused, typing away and checking her emails. After a while, he wakes up and looks at her, surprised to see her still there. He comments that Gage told him she's very hardworking, but is still honestly surprised to see her working late into the night. She turns to him when she hears his voice, asking if he needs anything. He smiles and tells her that he doesn't need anything right now, but it's getting late. He advises her to go and get some rest. He points out that she has been staring at her tablet for quite some time, and adds that Gage has prepared the next room for her to sleep in. He urges her to put down the tablet and take care of herself. She feels a little guilty for staying up so late, realizing he's right, and that she should listen to him. With a sigh, she closes her tablet, thinking it's time to take a break and get some rest, knowing that tomorrow will bring a new day full of challenges. She tells him that she's used to working late, and she really doubts she can fall asleep this early. She feels like if she keeps working, she can be more productive. She urges him not to worry about her, saying she was pretty studious when she was a kid. He sighs, shaking his head in disbelief, and comments that he is amazed at how devoted and hardworking she is. He tells her that when she gets to his age, she'll understand that there's more to life than just working hard and achieving goals. He advises her to find time to relax and have some fun, because she is too young to be pushing herself so hard. He reminds her that it's okay to slow down a bit. He continues, explaining that she can reach the peak she wants in no time. But if she keeps overworking herself every day and night without taking a moment to rest, she might not feel anything once she gets to her goal. That would defeat the whole purpose of reaching that peak in the first place. She listens carefully to his words, feeling touched by the advice he gives her. Deep down, she wishes there was even one person in her so-called family who had offered her such good advice before. Even when she stayed up late and didn't sleep, no one had ever bothered to tell her it was okay to take a break. She feels a little emotional thinking about it, realizing how important it is to hear someone say that it's all right to slow down and take care of herself. No one had ever asked her to take a break, to stop, or to go to sleep early for her own sake, not once. So, it really baffles her how this stranger can genuinely care about her well-being like this. He asks her what her hobbies are, and she just thinks for a moment. Now that she's been asked, she realizes she can't think of anything. She has never had the time to find out what she enjoys doing. Her whole life has been about studying, and after that, it has been all about work. She has never really had time to relax, explore her interests, or do anything else besides working. Looking at him, she admits that she hasn't discovered her hobby yet. He nods and says that's exactly why she needs to take a break from working once in a while. He tells her that she shouldn't bring her work home with her, and should try doing something different. He wonders about his lazy grandson, thinking about how they have been living together, and questioning why he hasn't taken her out to do something fun. He believes the male lead should have taken her out on dates so she can enjoy herself. He adds that he will definitely scold him when he gets back. She shakes her head and says there's nothing lazy about the male lead. Instead, he keeps surprising her. He doesn't agree with her, insisting that it's not an excuse. He believes the male lead should be doing something to help her have fun. He says that the male lead should have taken her out for a dinner date, or even a weekend trip so they can both relax and enjoy themselves. He adds that the male lead is really unromantic, and he feels sorry for her. She doesn't know how to respond to that. Then he asks her when they are planning to get married. He mentions that he has tried to avoid bringing it up, because he doesn't want to put any pressure on her. He explains that he is careful because his grandson has finally found his true love. But he jokes that at this rate, he might die before he gets to see his great-grandchild, and it's starting to worry him. She is surprised by his words. She never knew the male lead loved her like that. Just then, the door opens, and a young man walks in, calling out Grandpa. He looks happy to see him awake. This young man is Gage's brother, Hunter. As Hunter walks into the room with a big smile, his grandfather asks him why he is so late. Hunter quickly apologizes, saying he got caught up with a huge project and just heard the news. He adds that he knows he'll be fine because his brother, Gage, wouldn't let anything happen to him. The old man shakes his head and tells Hunter not to talk about Gage like that. Hunter complains that his grandfather always gets upset whenever he visits, but then he also complains when he doesn't come by. He wonders what he can do to make the old man happy. Then he turns to the girl and asks her who she is, hoping she isn't the sugar baby of his grandfather because that would make him really jealous. The grandfather quickly replies that she is not his sugar baby, she belongs to Gage. The girl looks at him in disbelief. She thought Gage was the only family the chairman had. Now she finds out he actually has another brother, who is the biggest movie star in the world. She feels completely shocked. The old man then tells Hunter to stop looking at his future sister-in-law with those kinds of eyes. Hunter responds with a playful attitude, telling his grandfather to relax and wonders if it's now a bad thing to admire a beautiful woman. Hunter walks over to her and extends his hand, introducing himself with a friendly smile. She takes his hand, telling him her name and saying it's nice to meet him. As they shake hands, he comments that it's strange Gage never mentioned he has a brother. Hunter shrugs and adds that he isn't surprised because he is the famous actor, not the CEO that their grandfather wanted, which is why he cut ties with them. The old man quickly responds, saying that Hunter wasn't disowned, instead, he was the one who chose to cut ties with them. Hunter rolls his eyes and tells his grandfather to stop making him look bad in front of such a beautiful girl. The old man is starting to get worked up again, and warns him not to trouble her. Hunter smirks and says that she isn't married to Gage yet, so maybe it's actually them who are meant to be together. The grandfather frowns and tells the girl to go and rest, not to pay attention to Hunter's teasing. She smiles and agrees, also advising the old man to take some time to rest. Then she turns to Hunter, reminding him that the chairman needs to rest and that he shouldn't stress him out too much. With that, she walks away. Once they are alone in the room, Hunter turns to his grandfather and says that the girl is really cool. The old man nods, telling Hunter that Gage is serious about her, and has never been serious about anyone before. He warns Hunter to keep his eyes and hands off her, reminding him that she is off limits. Hunter tells his grandfather to calm down, joking that anyone would think he is flirting with his own girl based on how he's acting. He reminds the old man to relax and brings up what the girl said about not stressing out. The grandfather replies that he will stop worrying when Hunter behaves himself. He asks how sure Hunter is that his brother is really into her, pointing out that she seems to have just come out of nowhere. The old man explains that Gage and the girl are already living together, and this surprises Hunter. The grandfather continues, saying that right now, she is his personal secretary. He believes she is the reason Gage decided to get back to work. He adds that their relationship should be moving forward pretty quickly, so Hunter shouldn't stick his nose into their private matters. Hunter is shocked that his brother, who has never committed to anyone or anything, is now living with a woman. He thinks this will make things interesting. The old man tells him that this is why he needs to support them. Now that Gage has found someone to marry, they should do their best to help them. He looks at Hunter and comments that he is just eager to have a great-grandchild, and that's all. The old man asks Hunter if there's anything wrong with wanting a great-grandchild. He questions when Hunter plans to retire from the movie industry and start a family of his own. Instead of answering, Hunter changes the subject and asks how the grandfather knows that Gage really loves the girl. He wonders if Gage actually told him that. The old man insists that Hunter shouldn't avoid the topic. 2 days later, the girl is in her room, working on her laptop. Hunter walks in and tells her that he has come to take her out. She doesn't respond to him. For the past 2 days, Hunter has been around, looking for every chance to bother her. She is thankful for his presence because he is someone she can trust to help keep an eye on the chairman while she works. However, Hunter keeps bothering her. Whenever the chairman takes a rest, Hunter comes to her and disrupts her work. Even though she ignores all his antics, he remains completely unfazed. It's as if he has a thick skin and feels no shame at all. He still comes to bug her, even when she gives him glares that she can't hold back anymore. He sits down in front of her and tells her that Grandpa asked him to take her out for a coffee break. She replies that they can have the break right here. She plans to order coffee in, so there's no need to go out and waste time. She asks him what flavor he wants. He looks at her and comments that even though it's the chairman who requested it, she still refuses his offer. She explains that she has a lot to do, and going out would only disrupt her plans. She adds that she isn't in the habit of being paid to do nothing. He pretends to be heartbroken, saying that she still calls him Mr. even after he asked her to call him by his name. While still focused on her work, she tells him that she has something very important to finish. She says if he doesn't have any important information to share, he should leave her room. He is surprised by her cold attitude. After a moment, he tells her that he heard from his manager that she sent him a business email a week ago about Acheron wanting him to be their ambassador. She stops what she is doing and suggests they go out now for a coffee break to talk more about it. She closes her laptop. He tells her he can't believe she will only make time for him when it comes to business. She replies that she is only interested in business. He then asks her if his brother is just business to her as well. She replies no, saying that Gage is the only exception. She can't believe she just said that. But deep down, she knows it's true. He really is the only exception. He's the only man who can grab her full attention, even when talking about serious topics. He smiles and looks at her, commenting that it seems like she really loves his brother. He asks her when she and Gage met. She replies that she's not comfortable talking about personal matters. She knows she has to be careful and not answer him too much. She remembers what the chairman told her yesterday. He warned her to be cautious about what she reveals to Hunter, especially things related to Gage. The chairman had told her that Hunter was kidnapped during his final year of high school, and it was Gage who tracked him down and saved him. Since that incident, Hunter has been a bit different when it comes to his older brother. He wants to know everything about Gage, no matter how small the details might be. The chairman mentioned that some people might call it an unhealthy obsession, but Gage never complains about it. He said he worries that Hunter might become too nosy about her relationship with Gage. So, he advised her to ignore Hunter and not say anything about their relationship. He assures her that she shouldn't worry, saying that Hunter is still a good kid, apart from this strange issue he has. Back in the present, she tells him they should start talking about business now and asks if she should order coffee. He replies that he has one last question for her. He asks if she has ever felt that something is strange or mysterious about his brother. She is surprised by this question. She glances toward the door and sees Gage standing there. Excited, she quickly walks to him and asks if he just arrived. She checks if everything went well. Gage asks her if Hunter behaved himself while he was away. Hunter turns around and tells Gage to stop looking at him like he's a criminal, saying she's the only one misbehaving here. He claims that she has been ignoring him for days. She quickly defends herself, saying he shouldn't make up stories. She insists that she has acknowledged him even when he tries to disrupt her work. She warns him to be careful with the words he uses, explaining that it's not true she has completely ignored him. Hunter replies that she hasn't granted him his simple request to have coffee with him. He adds that this is not how someone should treat their future brother-in-law. She stands there speechless. This guy is definitely using, or rather misusing, his acting skills right now. She is also surprised that he calls himself her future brother-in-law. Just then, Gage comes to her rescue. He explains to Hunter that he thinks Hunter is misunderstanding her. He tells Hunter that she has always been like this with everyone. She doesn't like small talk because she thinks it's a waste of her precious time. He adds that if Hunter doesn't want to be ignored by her, he should only talk to her about business. Gage says that's the way to go. Gage leans in and kisses her neck, then tells Hunter to excuse them because he wants some alone time with her. Hunter says he understands and starts to leave. As he walks past them, he tells Gage that they will talk about that matter next time. Before he goes, he comments to his brother that no one would have thought he could act like this when he is in love. Gage smiles and replies that he knows now. As Hunter shuts the door behind him, Gage asks her if Hunter said or did anything weird while he was away. She shakes her head, letting him know everything is fine. Gage gently touches her cheek and tells her that, as he promised earlier, the project is successfully dealt with. They've got it. She can't believe what she's hearing. She thanks him for making it happen, adding that he's truly amazing. He smiles back and replies that he made a promise to her. He'll never promise something he can't fulfill. She beams at him, thanking him again, feeling really happy. Gage looks at her, wondering if she's trying to kill him with her cuteness. She keeps thanking him happily. At that moment, he brings her closer to him, and she is surprised by how quickly he does it. His emotions are growing stronger. She asks him if he's okay. He hugs her tightly and says he's fine, just Eva-deprived. She thinks about what he just said and realizes he probably means he's sleep-deprived, not that he misses her. She isn't so sure about that. He finally lets go of the hug and turns to leave. She calls out to him, and he tells her that he'll be back. He wants to check on their grandfather first. He walks out quickly, and once he's outside the room, he admits to himself that it's getting harder and harder to keep his hands off her. In his office at XY Company, Jess's father is fuming as he scolds her. He paces back and forth, clearly frustrated, and slams his hand on the desk to emphasize his anger. He reminds her that she had assured him she would deal with Acheron, yet she has failed miserably. Jessa, trying to stay calm and composed, replies that Gage isn't just some boy. He's a very intelligent man, probably the smartest person she's ever come across. She adds that it's not easy to manipulate someone like him. Her father glares at her, not interested in her excuses. He snaps back, saying he doesn't care how smart Acheron is. He emphasizes that he sent her there with a clear goal, to make sure Gage didn't win the deal. He is clearly disappointed and frustrated with her performance. Jessa tries to explain her side, saying that she can't do anything when all her charms didn't work on him. She insists that it's the first time a man has actually ignored her like that, which is shocking for her. Her father continues to scold her, insisting that they had planned night and day for the deal to be theirs, and he demands to know why she lost it. Jessa, feeling a bit defensive, replies that what he's saying is true. She explains that Gage left that night as planned, accompanied by his secretary, but somehow he still returned. She emphasizes that he was even late to the meeting, yet he managed to sweet-talk Mr. DeMarco and win the deal right under their noses. Feeling the tension rise, she tells him not to ask her how he did it because that's beyond her knowledge and control. She knows she can't fully grasp how someone like Gage operates. Jessa tries to explain that the male lead is more capable than they ever gave him credit for, and he's not an easy person to sway. She also points out that he seems to be deeply in love with someone already, which makes it even harder for her to get his attention. She feels frustrated at the realization that her usual tactics won't work on him, and she wishes her father would understand the complexity of the situation. Her father is clearly not happy with Jessa's excuses. He comments angrily that he should have just made that old man die on the spot instead of trusting her with this task. Jessa, trying to keep her cool, tells him to calm down. She argues that it doesn't matter if Acheron wins the deal or not. Her father interrupts her, asking what she is talking about. Jessa, with a determined look in her eyes, boldly declares that she wants Gage so badly. She believes that he is eventually going to be hers, and when that happens, they won't have to worry about his company anymore. She confidently states that the company will be theirs too the moment she becomes an Acheron. Her father reminds her that she has already said he is in love with someone else, which is why he has been ignoring her. Jessa rolls her eyes and asks if he has forgotten her motto already: whatever she wants, she will surely get it. She assures him to wait and see what happens. She explains that Gage is just playing hard to get, and she knows how much she loves to play with a person like him. She adds that he is also a big catch. She describes Gage as the most handsome and intelligent person she has ever met, and the most perfect. She promises to do anything to get him. Hearing her confidence and determination, her father commends her and seems happy with her plan. Jessa, feeling a surge of excitement, suddenly remembers something important. She tells her father that there is something very crucial he should know about the secretary that Gage is deeply in love with. She leans in closer, ready to share the information that could change everything. Back at the Acheron's mansion, the female lead walks into the living room and sees the Acherons sitting together. Their presence makes her feel a bit intimidated. The chairman is happy to see her and tells her that it's finally time for Gage to take her out on a date. He nudges Gage to stand up and pushes him toward her. He insists that Gage should do what he says and stop overworking her. Gage stands up and tells her that they can leave now. He is putting on his grandfather's glasses. She notices the glasses suit him well and compliments him. He thanks her for the kind words, but Grandpa, from behind, calls out for Gage to return his glasses. After a little while, they both finish getting dressed up and head out together. When they arrive at the restaurant, she is surprised to see that he has reserved the entire place just for their date. He notices her shock and tells her to calm down. He reminds her that it's their first date, and that she doesn't need to act like Evelyn Lee while they are together. He encourages her to just be herself, relax, and enjoy the night with him. They sit down at their table, and he pours a drink for her. As they settle in, he tells her that he has missed her and asks if she has missed him too. She nods and says yes, explaining that she has been very busy with work since he left, but still missed him a little. She adds that she even dreamt about him. Curious, he asks if it was a nice dream. She replies that it wasn't a nice dream at all. He asks her if he scared her in her dream, and she nods, saying yes. This makes him feel unhappy. He says that he really wishes he could enter her dream and erase that scary version of himself. He doesn't want that version ruining his reputation in her eyes or scaring her like that. She reassures him that he didn't really do anything bad in her dream, he just disappeared. She explains that she called out to him, but he didn't come back. He was just gone, and she felt all alone. She admits that she knows it's just a dream, but while he was away, she did wonder if he would really return. That thought scared her a little. He replies that she has no idea how happy he is to hear that she wants him to stay with her forever. She looks at him, surprised by his words. He then asks her if she isn't scared of losing him, adding that wanting him to stay by her side forever is what that means. She tries to shy away from the topic and says that she was just afraid that Jessa would succeed in snaring him. She explains that if that happens, he will turn his back on her. He interrupts her, telling her that Jessa really tried her best to snare him, and that her warning about her was spot on. He adds that even when he showed off her kiss mark, Jessa barely cared about it. He concludes that Jessa is exactly as he was warned about. He kisses her hand and assures her that Jessa means nothing to him. He says that even if Jessa stands completely naked in front of him, he would still find her more attractive. He adds that Jessa is nothing compared to her. She looks surprised by his words. She tells him that she still doesn't understand why he is being so good to her. He asks her if he needs a reason to treat the woman he wants to marry well. His last statement hits her hard. She asks him why he chooses her and why he wants to marry her. She tells him that she has been wondering about this since the moment he asked. She continues to express her thoughts, saying that she has been wondering about his real motive or hidden agenda. But as soon as she says this, she chides herself for speaking like that. She worries that she is going too far, and that this risky conversation could end things between her and Gage. She tries to push those thoughts away and smiles. Then, she asks him if it is normal for her to think this way. She adds that it feels really suspicious to her that he would ask to marry a woman he has just met. Plus, she points out that her current situation is not exactly favorable for a man of his caliber. Yet, he willingly helps her and treats her like she is someone special. She wonders why she is able to speak out about her feelings so easily now, when she has never been good at that before. During his absence, especially after that dream, she has thought about a lot of things. She has even considered what her life would have been like if she had not met Gage that night. Without him, she would probably be trying to start all over, maybe even in another country. Realistically, she knows it would take years for her to get back on her feet. Then she wonders what would happen if he were to suddenly disappear one day. What if he turned his back on her like so many others have done? Just the thought of it makes her feel a fear she never expected to feel. She is scared of being abandoned again, of being thrown aside like she is some disposable, replaceable thing. Although she has survived this kind of pain once, she has a nagging feeling that it would not be so easy this time if Gage were to turn his back on her and leave her too. But he returned, and he didn't just come back to her, he returned with incredible news. Now, here he is, holding her and telling her such unbelievable and overwhelming words. He asks her what makes her look so sad. She looks at him, lost in thought. She wants to believe that maybe she has finally found her good luck charm, him, Gage Acheron. She hopes that he really feels that thing people call love at first sight. But what if she's wrong? What if none of this is real? Gage is with his family, wearing his new glasses. He's already ready and waiting for her. His brother notices the glasses and asks why he's wearing them now. He thinks Gage has perfect eyesight, so he finds it strange. Gage chuckles and tells his brother that he hopes he's not wearing them just because Eva said they look good on him. He smiles and adds that he would wear anything if she thinks it suits him. Meanwhile, Eva is getting ready for their date. As she looks in the mirror, her mind tells her to change the dress she picked, but she shakes her head and decides to stick with it. Gage specifically told her to wear whatever makes her feel comfortable. When they finally meet, she can't help but exclaim that he looks so handsome. Gage grins and tells her she looks beautiful, saying he's falling in love with her outfit. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a Season 2 Part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao.